For every 10 people who lose weight, only one will keep it off for good. How you would think about fat loss. Because that's what everybody wants.
You don't have to count your calories, but it's a really good idea to understand that calories matter.
Most people don't fail because they're lazy or lack willpower. They fail because they're following the wrong strategy. So what's the right strategy?
Listen, we need strength training 3 days a week at a bare minimum.
The number one most important thing, get your energy intake correct. If you want to lose fat, you have to consume less energy than you expend.
Dieting is tough. A condition in which your body is not getting sufficient calories to maintain its weight almost always accrues some fatigue. And we call that diet fatigue in the industry.
By mastering these strategies or habits, you can lose weight and keep it off. No gimmicks, no fad diets, just science-backed proven methods.
So we took care of most of the theory behind how people can lose weight. But there's a missing piece.
The world is really confused about fat loss, about muscle. Where can we start with fat loss?
People that are loudly proclaiming things that are one of two categories: wild exaggerations or things that are just categorically untrue. And
give me an example.
Yes. Categorically untrue. Calorie balance is a myth. Calories don't matter. Wild exaggeration. The low carb lifestyle is great for everyone. And you hear that enough from those people, and they're iconoclastic enough that you come up on your social media feed, they write best-selling books and all this other stuff. And all of a sudden, you know, your idea of the thing, like I've had people tell me like, well, so like diet soda's like bad for you. And I'm like, no, it's just near consensus that it's totally fine. It's essentially almost inert. And they're like, well, I heard, like, well, you're hearing lies and half-truths and misunderstandings from lots of people on social media that just say a lot of stuff. But I wouldn't really only point the nasty blame finger at the producers of this kind of knowledge. I think most of it comes down to a consumption problem. A lot of people are not really interested in what maybe they consider dry and boring ideas. They're interested in sexy ideas. They're interested in quick fixes. Kind of a serendipitous fix where you like, there's this really complex puzzle and you click one piece and it goes, and it's all in place versus like having to do this and that.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of success.
And the things in common between fitness success and business success are actually quite massive on a principle level. They both have that little sting at the end of like, man, I got to do all this fucking principled work for years. The fuck that. Give me one hack, just one thing is so I can get successful, so I can lose fat. And here's the thing. I absolutely at a deep level never blame people for looking for shortcuts, because as we develop as a society, we come up with shortcuts to things. If you told someone 150 years ago,
yeah, that's fair.
They're like, hey, like, how do I get to 90 miles away? You're like, well, you get in a car and you just do this and it goes. And if we say this in about 3 or 4 years, you're going to be like, you just actually get in the car and you just do this and it just goes. Like,
I'm not getting in that
what the
car,
hell
but...
is a car? What the hell is a car? And you're like, right, so this thing that drives, it's like having 150 horses, but all in one chariot, and the horses are invisible. They're gonna be like, you're out of your mind. And they're gonna be like, yeah, it's all shortcuts in the future. You want to go get food, you don't farm, you don't do anything. You just show up to the grocery store, you do some kind of weird swiping, some kind of weird little card, and you just take whatever you want and you leave. They're gonna be like, this is nonsense. So if people didn't want shortcuts, if they didn't want massive efficiency improvements of orders of magnitude, they would have never invented amazing things. Like if we were like, it's all hard work, brother. Someone's trying to invent like the Industrial Revolution, like the farming equipment. You're like, man, this guy's just a fucking pussy. He's just trying to get out of work. You're like, dude, you're an insane person.
Right.
So it's great to look for shortcuts. It's awesome. But you got to be able to tell what shortcuts are cutting you right into bullshit that doesn't work and which ones are actually effective. And there are some effective little shortcuts or hacks. But in the diet realm so far, they're few and far between. And you can exploit them really well if you're good at the rest of the thing.
Give me the hierarchy, and I'm going to give you what I would consider probably the hierarchy. And you tell me where I'm right, where I'm wrong.
Oh, you're wrong, because you're not me. I'm the only one that knows the hierarchy. It's called the Dr. Mike hierarchy.
Well, I'll take it.
Of things that Dr. Mike knows, because he's special and important. I'm on a podcast again.
You are, but you are special and important.
That's what my mom said.
Calories in, calories out. Well, I guess the first thing you would have to consider is, what are your goals? Are you looking to lose fat, gain muscle, or maintain? Then the next thing would be you calculate that number and you determine what that number would be.
Calorie number.
Yes, you determine what that calorie number would be. And then you would set your dietary protein intake. to, for me, I would set it at 1 gram per pound ideal body weight or 1 gram per pound. And then depending on my activity, I could choose carbohydrates or fats.
You're well on your way, girl. I don't even have to do the podcast. You just keep going. I'll just be like, huh? I'll be like, yeah, and that was Dr. Mike. Thank you so much. See you later.
Well done.
No, right on. Right on. Yeah.
Tell me how you would think about fat loss. Because that's what everybody wants.
So it turns out you don't have to count your calories. You don't have to count your calories, but it's a really good idea to understand that calories matter. Imagine you're in a shooter video game and you have a certain number of bullets in your gun. You got to reload. It doesn't matter if you count the bullets one by one, but you have to understand the concept that you can run out of bullets. There's such a thing as too much shooting at an empty screen, and then the bad guy comes and goes, and he eats you. So you don't have to count calorie by calorie. There's many ways of doing things, but calories as a physics concept is not so up for dispute. No, it can be up for dispute if you want to disprove calorie balance. You do a lot of real deep physics equations and deep experiments and bomb calorimeters, and you submit to the various journals, and 5 or 10 years later, they'd be like, it's fucking Einstein, you're revolutionary. But good news, we don't have to do that because it's pretty well set in stone. And all calorie balance says is if you want to become larger, you have to eat more than you're used to or spend a little bit less energy. The energy spending thing I can get into considerably, but the long and short of it is energy expenditure is not a big factor in most people being overweight. I know that sounds crazy, but it's just like unambiguously true. What is a big factor is people eat too goddamn much. And I know that's crazy. We are in Houston, Texas, where everyone's so fucking lean. I mean, it's just shredded. It's all skinny people and shredded people. No.
Oh,
no,
I was like, I thought everything was bigger in Texas. I mean, like, really?
Yeah, no, it's impressive here. Texas is great.
Everything is bigger.
Yeah, literally. Everyone. And it looks like people are having a lot of fun with their food. I will say that. But the biggest thing about calorie balance is if your calorie level is here and your body weight is here, probably a big part of your journey to getting your body weight down is going to be to take your calories and put them down to some level.
Would that be a controversial statement that people are eating too much?
I don't know where.
Well, I mean, I think the only reason I say that is because you hear a lot of people say that individuals are under eating.
Yeah, I do hear that. So there's a nuanced, caveated way that can be true. And there's a way that many people mean it. This is categorically false. So the nuanced way, if we're really going to steel man that, is I think a lot of people who get tired of being overweight, which is a lot of people, decide, you know what, I'm not going to eat a whole lot. I'm going to lose weight. And they take their calorie levels and they bring it down to a level that's unsustainable.
Like 800 calories.
Sure. Energy grounds, hunger grounds, mental clarity grounds, getting fired from work because you can't make sense of things grounds, sleep goes to hell, that whole thing. And it is true that in that acute time frame that lasts days for most people, weeks for some, months for very few, they are actually under eating. So that statement is true in that sense. But because they undereat way too much, they go back around and go, fuck this, gas me up. They go to Taco Bell late at night, and you know how it starts. And it doesn't stop because your boy's in the Taco Bell parking lot all day. I just walk in, they already know me.
You have a card?
They have my, oh yeah.
Frequent flyer card.
Yeah, that's right.
They have your order ready.
I'm so in line with the Taco Bell Corporation that they actually just eat for free.
Oh,
they just want to see how ridiculously overfat I can get at this point. It's like a science thing.
And they probably support your YouTube.
Oh, they love us. Yeah. Taco Bell, please don't cancel us. But at some point, those people go back into because if you drag your body weight down rapidly in an unsustainable manner, especially if you lose skeletal muscle, the profound hunger that results is not something most people can relate to in their daily lives. It's a kind of hunger that if you're watching a TV show where a family's discussing some controversial topic and you love the show and you're like, oh my God, what's the juice? You stop paying attention to what they're saying and you're looking at the dinner rolls they haven't touched yet. You're like, why doesn't somebody fucking eat those? Oh my God, I'm not well. I'm that hungry. And for most people, when they get that hungry, they go, and this is a real trip, unreal, unfortunate trip. They go, this thing I just did, this crazy low calorie diet, this is what I understand fat loss dieting to be. And it's clearly just doesn't work for me. I'm going to go back to doing what I usually do. And I'm just going to be fat fucking because it's either suffering or being fat. And being fat's a lot easier in almost all cases than suffering, starving for the rest of your life. So they just go back. And they look back on their diet experience and someone tells them like, you weren't eating enough. And you're like, oh, that makes sort of sense. So on a local scale, it can be true. On a global scale, if you give me someone over the course of 1 year and they've gained 15 pounds, maybe they got married, maybe the first year of the marriage was fun, but then after, he just keeps fucking, he never cleans up after himself. The guy's a slob. You just hate and hate and hate. But the thing that makes your hate go away is the cookies. You just keep eating cookies. And you gain 15 pounds over the course of a year. And you tell me I was under eating. False. You were overeating. It would be really dope if we figured out a way how to underfeed people and still allow them to maintain or gain weight, because we would send that information to the war-torn regions of the world where they would do famine control. It would be wonderful. But it's never been seen. Violates several laws of thermodynamics. It just doesn't work. So on the grand scale, if someone's like, yeah, I've just gained 40 pounds, you know, and I've had this literal conversation with like, I think I don't eat enough. And I'm just like, cough up my food. Like, nope, that's not it.
And I think that that's a really important point, because oftentimes you do hear, especially women, say, well, I'm just not eating enough and I have to increase my calories and I'm underfeeding. And the reality is you might go through periods of starvation and then there's a rebound hunger that seems to send people into a tailspin. I wanted to take a moment to let you know about something new we've created. It's called Forever Strong Insider, and it's the premium subscription to the Dr. Gabrielle Lyon Show. As a Forever Strong Insider, every week you'll get ad-free episodes, written summaries with key takeaways to help you retain the most important insights from the show. A community Q&A segment where you can submit your own questions for upcoming guests. We're gonna call this the Strong Seed. And behind the scenes content, a closer look at how I prepare, train, travel, and navigate daily life. Go to foreverstrong.supercast.com. Let's keep getting stronger together. If someone were to say, okay, calories in, calories out, we've identified that calories in is pretty streamlined, right? How many calories are you getting, and whether
Metabolizable. Yeah.
Metabolizable.
So if you have more fiber, you know, that sort of thing, that's going to lower your metabolizable energy. So there's that kind of theory. That's kind of the crux of it, right? Your metabolizable energy and then the summation of the calories you expend on a daily basis. Now, when we look at the carb insulin model of obesity, this has a lot of variations. I feel like the goalposts have moved on this a lot, but I'm going to give you my closest interpretation of what I think has been popularized. Calories in, calories out kind of states that you overeat and become obese in response to the overeating because you're consuming more calories than you expend. The carb insulin model says it's not so much that when you eat high refined carbohydrate, you inhibit lipolysis.
Just the breakdown of fat.
Right. So you increase insulin, you inhibit lipolysis, that traps fat in adipose. And since fat is now inaccessible, or stored energy is inaccessible to the rest of the body, you overeat in response. And so the crux is you don't become fat because you overeat. You become fat from eating too much refined carbohydrate, and you overeat in response and then become fat. So I think there's a few kind of really basic reasons that is not viable. So the first thing I will say is, for a hypothesis to be robust, it needs to show up across a broad category, various populations. One of the things that I had said to people who were promoting the carb insulin model of obesity, because they seem to keep changing it and keep like, well, this study didn't quite do this, and so it's not, and I said, well, if your hypothesis requires these extremely tight constraints to actually be true, it's not a very robust hypothesis.
Or could it be that it is efficacious for a very particular type of age, population, potential phenotype?
I would say the first thing to look at is there was a meta-analysis of studies looking at various levels of carbohydrate intake in the diet, but they controlled protein and calories. So there's about 20 controlled feeding studies. So this is important because the inclusion criteria for this meta-analysis was it either had to be metabolic ward or the food had to be provided to participants. So adherence was high, because when you provide food to participants, you can get adherence above 90%. When you do free living and just tell them to do whatever, that's when you get like 50, 60% adherence.
Oreos are eaten under the counter.
Right.
Yeah.
So the food was provided to participants. Protein and calories were equated, which is important. Obviously, we've got to equate calories. There's a lot of studies out there where they're like, well, this showed more fat loss than this, but then you see, well, they didn't control calories. Okay, might say something for satiety, but you don't really know if it, like, mechanistically what it's showing. So they equated calories, equated protein, important for what we talked about, because originally some of the lower carb research, like out of Volek and Finney's lab, was showing increased fat loss and better muscle retention, but they weren't equating protein in the studies.
I didn't know that.
Listen, we need strength training, right? And I think we need, right around 3 days a week at a bare minimum, right?
Would that be enough to lose body fat?
And I think it would be. And I think that, depending on your lifestyle, I'm not telling you for the other 4 days to go sit in a desk and not move or not be active. But if you got in and you did 3 days of resistance training and the other 4 days you were active with steps and you were trying to get outside and you're hydrating and you're focusing on sleep and you're focusing on something that we love called protein, right?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. And trying to, the food I consume, I want it to be powerful. Right? Like I'm not going to just eat like a chicken breast and some white rice.
Which is the old school way of doing things.
Which is the old school way of doing things. Like, yes, we're going to have broccoli with it, or we're going to mix like the way you eat, or when you look in your fridge. Very interesting. And I love it, but it's
very organized.
It's very organized, but like you had your grass-fed steak, you had, some shrimp, you had some chicken, you had your potatoes, you had your rice, you had your vegetables. And you had other things up top, your kraut, maybe your kimchi.
That's right. You noticed. So you were looking in my fridge.
Yeah. So like for fermented foods.
Yep.
And, there was never, you were never short of being able to consume something that was powerful. So I think there's a way to eat that's delicious. I think it does take a little discipline and a little planning. Like if you're going to wake up the next day and say, oh God, I slept in, my meals aren't ready, and when am I going to train?
I never sleep in.
Right. Yeah.
Because I have
two
little children who woke up and were like, where's Uncle Donnie?
I missed that. I missed that. But yeah, I think to answer your question, I think if you got in and started with, 3 20 to 30 minute sessions, and the other day,
that's not that long.
It's not long,
listening.
But then the other days be active, like walk, take the stairs instead of the elevator, move, like maybe after your meals, go for a 10-minute walk, doing these things that are really going to help you accumulate your steps. And, I think good things will happen. And when good things start happening, then those magic words come in. It's like, all right, I'm seeing progress. What's next? So many people don't want to keep up with, with that discipline because they're not seeing progress. So when you're doing something every day and there's nothing in return, it's really difficult to want to continue to do it. So that's my thing. If we could show them a little bit of progress, we're going to get them coming back a lot more.
And progress begins, there's the physical progress, but also being able to set a standard for yourself.
100%.
You set a standard, you execute on that standard.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to say, if you're out there listening and you've never picked up a weight, which I know some people are in that spot, or maybe they've always been doing cardio, because again, cardio is easy. You jump on a piece of cardio equipment, but strength training is a non-negotiable for reducing body fat and changing body composition. Don has trained every type of person under the sun, from famous people to athletes to tier 1 operators whom we share together. If someone starts at 20 to 30 minutes of resistance training 3 days a week, how should they think about it? Should be a Monday, Wednesday, Friday? What kind of how should they space it? And would these be full body exercises?
I like full bodies because now we're repeating with some frequency. And I think someone who's getting started, the big complaint is, I don't want to feel too sore, right? Like I like the sore.
Is that the big complaint?
I get a big complaint, like, oh my God, am I going to get really sore doing this? And I'm like, all right. But so if you're turning around and you're training frequently, meaning like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, you're allowing yourself a rest day, in between. Mentally, we might develop some motivation, which becomes a problem. When most people start training, they get so excited and they get overzealous and they jump in there. And the next thing you know, they're there for an hour and a half. And then they're sore the next day. And then they come back in and they do it again. And then 3-4 days in, they're like, I'm shot and I can't keep up with this. And I'm like, I don't have that type of time. And that motivation starts diminishing. So I want them to go in. I want them to hit it. I want them to leave there wanting more, like leave there not being completely spent.
And is that why you say start with 20 to 30 minutes? Because at 30 minutes, you could probably keep going.
I can create any program for anybody. Like if someone comes to me and they're like, for some reason at 20 minutes, I lose motivation, I'll design for them the 18-minute workout. It's just, and I can design it in a way where we're going to check a lot of boxes. We're going to train the entire body. You're going to work, you're going to work all 5 components of fitness, it's just, strength, mobility, cardiorespiratory endurance,
muscular endurance,
muscular endurance, and body composition. So, all those 5 components, we're going to check those boxes with if we are, training in a smart way and we're training in a very efficient ways. But if you're coming in there and frivolously pulling stuff out of the air, you're going to have a big problem. And there's not going to be any balance to your programming, and you're going to overtrain certain areas of the body, or some people don't like using the term overtraining, but you're going to overload certain areas of the body. And that could result in some issues in the future. I'm a fan of mobility. I am. I will.
Feels great.
It feels great. I call it practice. So what I'll do is I will personally screen someone. I'll run them through some type of a functional movement screening, or if there is red flags, I've got a team of medicals I work with where they can come in and do an SFMA or take them through their process. So once we understand how that person's moving, then I can design my practice, or call it what you want, warm up, movement prep, prehab, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. But then we could design that very simple approach based off of what it is that person needs. So if they're lacking an external rotation in the shoulder, we might work on that, or thoracic extension or thoracic rotation. So it's very purposeful, right? I'm not going to take a woman who can twist her spine like Gumby and start working on open books. It's a useless movement for her. She doesn't need it. She might need to hang from a pull-up bar and work on grip strength. I'm just making this up, right? But I think coming in and taking anywhere from 3 to 5 movements and just rolling through it to where your heart rate gets picked up, but we are practicing things that we want to get better at, that I think becomes very, very important. And then, it's how are we structuring the workout based off of their goals?
If you're like me, you love a good meat stick and are always on the go, but still committed to putting high quality fuel into your body, then you want to check out Paleo Valley, one of the sponsors of the show. Their 100 grass-fed and finished beef sticks are clean, nutrient-dense, and free from all the garbage found in most convenient snacks. And by the way, this is buffalo chicken, no preservatives, no added sugar, no artificial anything. They are naturally fermented, which means they support your gut, deliver more bioavailable nutrients, and of course, have a long shelf life without the use of harmful additives, which is amazing. Paleo Valley sources from regenerative farms here in the US, the kind of farms that treat animals humanely and prioritize soil health. It's like going to the farmer's market, getting a good quality snack, and it's delivered right to your door. Go to paleovalley.com/Dr. Lyon to get 15% off. That's paleovalley.com/Dr. Lyon.
Supplements.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah. There are some supplements you may be interested in taking during a weight loss journey as a little bit of an insurance policy. Magnesium, zinc, vitamin D, a multivitamin, multimineral, maybe a greens powder, maybe not, maybe a fruits powder, maybe not, maybe some healthy fat supplements, maybe not. And those just make sure everything's squared away and working fine. And it probably is anyway if you're eating a mostly healthy diet, but these are things that are like super, super minor that you can do. At the very least, a multivitamin, multimineral every day, probably a good thing. As far as supplements that really have a wallop effect after that, they don't exist. Stimulants are okay, but stimulants
and what kind? Like a Yohimbe, Fedra?
Fedra, damn girl, we're back in the 90s.
Is that even legal anymore?
Legal? I don't think so. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
and guys, we're not saying to take it. I am purely picking Dr. Mike's brain. So before you guys get excited, please
right
understand.
To the Ephedra. So
I mean, you did say stimulants. I mean, okay, I probably should have went to coffee. But...
Yeah, right. Stimulants, I would say, is kind of like a really pretty gnarly sword, like a powerful sword, but there's no handle. You just grab the sword and bleed right into it. And some people have really calloused hands. They do just fine. Some people, that doesn't work, and they drop it.
Tell me, what stimulant type of thing are you talking about?
Yeah. So some people, stimulants make their brain go really well, and they're productive and aware, and they feel great. Mm-hmm. Some people just get a lot of anxiety from them, like way more than they get anything else, and they're like, I can't live like this. Some people fall asleep fine. I could do a natural experiment. You give my wife an espresso. It's 8 p.m. You wait until 8:45. She'll pass out on the couch.
Same. My husband too. Actually, you give him espresso at 8, and by 8:05, that guy is done.
Yeah. So if you gave me an espresso at 8, at 4 a.m, I would be like connecting the dots and conspiracy theories and checking into a psychiatric ward.
Well, not that part, but yes. But you talked about caffeine. Are there other ones? I mean, yes. Let's say over the counter stimulants.
Caffeine's the main driver of all of them.
Yep.
And other stimulants are interesting. They have some interesting fat loss and health benefits, but they're teeny tiny. And actually caffeine's is quite teeny tiny. So if you can use caffeine to give you a bit more energy, if it doesn't interfere with your sleep much, and if you can do it to have, it's got a pretty interesting, decent hunger suppressive effect.
What about nicotine? Nicotine gum.
So nicotine is in
pouches.
that same situation. Nicotine has some health downsides that caffeine does not. So it's just not my first go-to. And nicotine has substantial addiction potential. So it's not something you use on a diet and then quit because you're like, I need fucking more nicotine right now. Just go straight to ciggies. Not even the filtered ones. I'm talking about 1956. Like your fridge probably has in there right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. It
just
has
full
many.
of cigarettes. And
Shrunken heads.
yes.
If you open that, you never know what's gonna.
People that died from smoking cigarettes. It's a lesson.
But nicotine, because you hear with the fasting community, them using nicotine pouches.
Yeah, that works great for fasting. But the nicotine's a pretty hard drug. You know, it's a drug, like capital D drug. So if you want to get addicted to nicotine, dope. Nicotine also doesn't have like great profiles on your blood pressure, from what I understand. Heart dynamics aren't great. Caffeine is a little bit of that, but substantially more muted from my understanding. Not an expert area of mine.
So if you were to pick one, it might be caffeine.
Yeah, for most people, I probably start at caffeine and work your way up to cocaine as that happens.
He's kidding, guys.
He's just joking. Yes, don't go taking cocaine unless you're in the 80s and having a good time. So basically, stimulants are on paper sometimes really cool, and for many people they're a great kind of adjunct to this process of dieting that works pretty well. They have their downsides, interfere with your sleep. When you're not on them, you get headaches and literally like physiological drug withdrawal. If you're not on enough of them in your phase after you're done dieting, you're really hungry and it drives you insane. If you wake up in the evening or in the middle of the night or in the morning too early to take stimulants yet and you're hungry, there's no way out for you because the fuck, your anti-hunger thing is also a wakefulness thing. So I'd say stimulants are also, in study after study, caffeine doesn't by itself have a very good raw thermogenic effect. And so if it can control your appetite for you, that's okay. But also your body gets used to it real fast. And so like coffee worked great week 1, and week 8, you need like 8 monsters and 5 coffees and the shit barely does anything. And it's all side effects at that point. You're like, all right, this is unsustainable. So as far as supplements that work well, I would say caffeine's a cool thing to use. Stimulants are cool in context, but they're not this panacea that everyone should have. Now, this might be the time to talk about modern anorectic drugs.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So,
and what does that mean?
Yeah. So anorectic means something that reduces your drive to eat, food drive. And so anorectic drugs are drugs that reduce appetite. And so there are a couple of classes. There are 2 classes right now of anorectic drugs that work really well. It's so technically the 3rd generation GLP-1 agonists like Ozempic, aka semaglutide. And then there's the 4th generation GLP-GIP combined agonist, and that's Zepbound tirzepatide. They work amazingly well. They're the first kinds of drugs really of their kind in mass market. They get at the problem of hunger from a pretty root perspective compared to caffeine, for example. So their suite of side effects is much more minimal. Their suite of side effects that improve health is substantial. They're net health improvers. If you just give them to the random person, they'll just get healthy over time. And
it's fascinating, isn't it?
That's fascinating. It's a big deal. Because usually you get drugs like that, and they're like, yeah, but it's killing you. Like, nope, this is
like
one's
phentermine
actually...
or Fen-Phen.
Well, the stimulant-based drugs have suffered from a lot of the same problems. Here's another really trippy thing. There are now at least a few studies that are multiple years long that show people do not get used to GLP-1s. However much hunger it made you lose in the first several weeks is exactly how much hunger it's going to make you lose in week number 92, which is unreal.
And how fast, and they, they work pretty fast. People will say, oh, well, it takes, I don't know, 46 or 48 weeks to reach peak, or there's multiple inflection points that an individual could begin to lose weight. But I mean, we see it in practice by... 4 weeks into, they're losing weight, whether it's 24 weeks in, they've lost a substantial amount of weight. I think it's very individual, whether it's 13% or
totally.
22%.
So I can speak to that with some detail. most people will feel an anorectic effect within several hours of administration of the drug. Much of it's subcutaneous, once weekly. So within several hours, you may have an idea that you're going to eat a lot of food. You put the typical amount of food on your plate. Halfway through, you're like, the fuck am I doing? I don't want
Hard
this
pass.
anymore.
Yeah, hard
weird,
pass.
right? And so it kind of hits right away, more or less. And then these drugs have very long half-lives that are measured in a week or longer. And so you take it once a week, which means if you run the math, a lot of, for example, semaglutide reaches its peak at any given any given dose you start, let's say 0.5 milligrams per week. It reaches its peak effect in your blood 5 weeks later, even if you don't add anything. It's just like once a week you take 0.5 milligrams and the dose in your blood goes up, 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 up. So one of the big take-home points from this is if you have an amount of semaglutide you're taking and you just started taking it, and you're like, I don't really feel a lot of the hunger effects, be easy. Just stay on it for a few weeks. After a few weeks, you're going to be like, holy shit, thank God I did not my dose, because that would have caught up to you big time. And then it takes weeks for it to go back down.
You'd be sick and nauseous, throwing up. You could be, the side effects definitely, if you increase a dose too fast, are not
gnarly.
good.
And then a lot of times, like, people will get on social media and blame the drug. Like, what didn't work for me? It made me throw up. Like, how much did you take, Betty? And she's like, I don't know, like the whole thing. Like, oh my God.
Right.
This unreal powerful drug. So for most people, they're not going to need that much. And then it's really kind of a turn dial for hunger.
Mm-hmm.
The more drug you take, the less your hunger is. And then you just like lose as much weight as not you want, but
Pretty close.
more or less.
I mean,
As long as you can tolerate the side effects, and big time, if your diet and lifestyle comport well with the drug. One of the things about these drugs is if you give yourself high palatable foods that are also high in fat, then you're able to like outrun the drug at the mouth and brain and eyes level. You're like, cookies. And then your stomach's like 2 middle fingers and up it goes, or you feel really sick, or you all sorts of both holes situation. And so it's really a big mistake to do that. So the best diet you can have for these drugs is a healthy diet, relatively low in fat, but low in calories and high in healthy food, so that you never have to run into this problem of tolerating the drug poorly. We have a friend that has been taking these drugs, and she's completely transformed her body. And she had what we lovingly call the macaroni and cheese incident. She's a few weeks into the drug. She was at a family gathering, and they're like, oh, mac and cheese. And she took the right kind of portion, she a little bit of it. And she was like, nope, bathroom. The body's like, nope, too much fat. And so if you manage your diet properly and you take these drugs, the primary way in which they work is they're anorectics. They reduce food drive. And they do all kinds of really awesome things for your health, including mental side effects. They actually make you less prone to every kind of addictive behavior that they've studied so far.
We see that all the time in practice.
Yeah.
Individuals that are interested in alcohol seem to be no longer interested in alcohol.
Cigarettes, that whole thing.
Anything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
fascinating.
Big deal. Yeah. And so these drugs are not mandatory. You can lose tons of weight and get super healthy without them. But I would say that in the modern context, with the evidence that we have, they're definitely like a tool in the toolbox. And if you've really been struggling without them, I would say going to talk to your primary healthcare provider about them is a real swell idea.
Absolutely agree. You know those people that can fall asleep anywhere? That person that gets on the airplane and before they even take off, they're asleep. I'm not one of those people. I need all the sleep help I can get. And one of the sponsors of our show, AG1, has done it again. They have created AGZ, and this is a nightly drink that helps you wind down. It's melatonin free with clinically studied herbs and adaptogens and minerals. AGZ is one of the few sleep supplements that contain both magtine, which is magnesium L-threonate, and saffron, 2 high quality ingredients at amounts supported by research. That's amazing. It has 250 milligrams of highly bioavailable magnesium in every serving, which is providing over half your daily value. AGZ is NSF certified, the gold standard in independent quality and safety certification. It is free of melatonin, gluten, dairy, added sugar, artificial sweeteners. If you're ready to turn down the stress and turn up the relaxation, then head to drinkag1.com/lion to get your free frother with your first purchase of AGZ. Which supplements have the best evidence? Give me your top 3. And I also have a few statements that I need a yes or no answer, which can be very difficult for you.
Trying to box me in.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Okay, so my Mount Rushmore of supplements is not going to like thrill anybody because it's going to be stuff that everybody's aware of. Number one is creatine monohydrate.
Dose. Give me the dose.
5 grams per day.
Do you know that 12 for brain health? They're looking at 12.
So for muscle, 5 grams per day was saturate. There was a recent study that showed an acute 30-gram dose actually improved cognitive function.
This guy, I
acutely.
can never pull. Can you imagine? I would say that, can you imagine arguing with you? You know, like, just, you know, I'm so excited.
I can pull up some
see.
X's. They can probably give you
I'm
some.
very excited to chat with your current beautiful lady, but I would just not want to argue with you. It would just be like, well, that time in 2003
okay, but my brain doesn't work that way.
At 5:17 and 30 seconds p.m. Oh, you're right.
Okay, so
I already know this. Wait, I am going to call you out. Nobody knows this about Layne. He is a freak when it comes to scientific literature and numbers, and like ridiculous. If I'm like, Layne, I would love for you to come to Houston on September 22nd.
Oh, yeah.
We're planning on having dinner with everybody this day, in one ear and out the other.
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
what about that event? This guy, you give him a date or something else, anything with numbers outside of academics, education, or money, forget it.
Yeah.
Did anyone know that about you?
Probably not. My girl never knows.
Okay, well, yes, of course.
Because I think it actually gave her like a hard time for a while because she was kind of like I struggle with dates, times, recalling certain things in conversation.
Yes.
And she'd be like,
it's called man.
How can you like this?
Yes, it's called man brain, Layne.
Yeah, man brain.
Yes, man. So I don't want to deter you, but yes, we have to close this out because people do not know this about you.
No, so and I never actually realized like that. I just thought study-wise that's how people were.
No.
And Layman, last year we were all at an event and he goes, yeah, I've never met anybody who can
just like the bane of my, between that and your skin, it's a bane of my existence.
So yeah, I don't know why I got that way. I just had a photographic memory when it came to studies and, you know, it just kind of worked out.
Creatine.
So
5 grams,
30 grams for muscle, 30 grams acutely for
Is Darren Candow's work?
Yeah, so I don't actually know that. I forget. You got one. Now the question I would have is, okay, would you get the same benefits if you just like took that 5 gram maintenance dose and over time you would get there? Perhaps the 30 gram dose is just a saturating effect early on.
It makes sense.
Who knows? Hopefully that cognitive research is going to expand more. But I honestly have people are like, well, do I need creatine? No, you don't need it, but I have a hard time making an argument against taking it, to be honest.
Do you know how much creatine you would get in a cooked steak?
Yeah.
A pound?
A pound, you get about half a gram of bioavailable creatine.
So that would be what? 2.5 pounds of, you would have to eat 5
to get
double.
2.5 grams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah. It's a little bit more than I think I worked out the math because
everybody wants to know.
There was a claim from the carnivore community that all you need to do is eat red meat. And I'm like, oh, well, you need to eat about 7.5 pounds of red meat.
Well, it does make cooking much easier and menu choices. What is your next supplement?
Let me finish with creatine.
All right. I'm just trying to keep you on track.
You don't need to load. If you have gastrointestinal side effects from it, split it into 2.5 gram doses. That will help with the gastrointestinal discomfort. Also, any form of creatine other than monohydrate, in my opinion, is a waste of money. All the studies looking at different forms of creatine monohydrate performs just as well or better, and it's the cheapest version. So get that. If you want to go a little bit more bougie, get the micronized version. It's more soluble, mixes up better. Next one, caffeine. The original nootropic, the original cognitive enhancer.
I'll take it.
Very consistently show caffeine it actually increases BMR slightly, may improve fat loss just a little bit. Cognitive, like task recall stuff, people are better at. Performance, people get a little bit better at.
How much? What's the kind of dose?
So if you want like strength and power stuff, you got to get like 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram. So pretty high dose. If you're looking at like anti-fatigue cognitive stuff, probably around like 100 to 200 milligrams of caffeine.
So basically, it's how crazy do you want to feel?
Yeah. So for me, as a super ADHD person, I'm kind of a caffeine junkie. I'll have about 500 milligrams of caffeine before I train, but I'm also like, if your ADHD, stimulants don't affect you the same way. That doesn't make me like, it just makes me very focused. So I like caffeine. Obviously there's the impact on sleep. Again, no solutions, only trade-offs. If you are someone who trains later in the day, the half-life of caffeine is 6 hours. You're probably like, let's say you're going to train at like 5 p.m. You're probably better off having your caffeine dose maybe 3 hours earlier. And that way, after 6 hours, at least half of it's out of your system.
And some people are fast metabolizers and some people are slow. There's some genetic variants. I think it's COMT. It's just a SNP. But again, that's one SNP. So some people, caffeine affects them. Other people, they're able to metabolize it very fast.
Yeah. And again, when we do studies, we report averages. If you know that you're somebody who gets really jittery with caffeine intake, take in the amount of caffeine that you feel like you can tolerate. And then whey protein. So whey protein, just...
Why whey as opposed to something else?
Well, one, it tastes good. Even like unflavored whey actually has like a little bit of sweetness to it. It's easy to flavor. It mixes up well. The consistency's good. It's not super expensive. And it's very high in leucine. So leucine...
Oh, what's that?
So leucine is the amino acid responsible for triggering muscle protein synthesis. Now, I would consider whey protein of the popular proteins out there the highest quality protein, very bioavailable, great PDCAAS. PDCAAS is an amino acid score corrected for digestibility that kind of assesses does it supply all of the essential amino acids, and whey does. And it's very high in the branch chains, very high in leucine.
What about the alpha-lactalbumin and lactoferrin? Are those immunoglobulins? I mean, I know that they're highly available and present in the concentrate, the whole whey. What about the whey isolate? Does that also have alpha-lactalbumin, lactoferrin, which are, again, immunoglobulins that are good for gastrointestinal health and immunity?
So
potentially good for immunity and gastrointestinal?
Yeah, so what I'll tell people is whey concentrate has those, and it's less expensive, usually a little bit higher in carbohydrate, higher in lactose, higher in fat is a whey concentrate. But you're getting some of those other things that we're talking about that are maybe beneficial for like gut health, immunity, those sorts of things. Whey isolate, less of those, but also virtually devoid of lactose, very low in carbohydrate, very low in fat. So it really just depends. A lot of people have difficulty tolerating a straight whey concentrate.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people can tolerate like a blend. So like kind of an isolate concentrate blend.
And do you like that over a rice pea blend for exactly those reasons? I mean, I am biased. I do like whey isolate over that because rice pea blend, I mean, yeah, there are probably other bioactive compounds that we just don't know, but I think whey, we have a pretty good understanding of what's in it.
I like whey isolate, and that's what my company Outwork Nutrition sells as a protein because I wanted something that most people could take in. So whey isolate, it's very low carb, very low fat. It still tastes good.
I wouldn't know because you haven't sent me any. I mean, look, he's looking over his shoulder.
All you got to do, ask and you shall receive. Ask and you shall receive. So I like a whey isolate just because I know most people are going to be able to tolerate it. There are some people who are really sensitive to the lactalbumins in whey that still don't tolerate a whey isolate. Very small percentage of the population. For them, you can do a whey hydrolysate. Now they're increasing in levels of cost. Like concentrate is the cheapest. Whey isolate's a little more expensive. Whey hydrolysate is more expensive. Hydrolysate is enzymatically digested, so those polypeptide chains get chopped up with enzymes. So that will I can't imagine somebody not being able to tolerate a whey hydrolysate. The downside is it's more expensive and it doesn't taste as good. But if you want a good high quality whey and you're somebody who you get a lot of gastrointestinal discomfort with whey isolate or whey concentrate, whey hydrolysate would be an option.
Oh, sorry. It's time to record an ad for the show. Thank you to one of the sponsors of the show, Timeline. And listen, my kids still sleep with me. And after 470 nighttime snack requests, bathroom breaks, my husband snoring, my cells, they're like, yo, G, we're tapped out. Enter MitoPure. Timeline Nutrition is one of the most thoroughly researched products I have come across in over a decade. Look, it's carried in my purse. They have peer-reviewed published science, and this is where it gets really interesting. So for those of you who are following the muscle-centric lifestyle, when you increase bioenergetics, you improve muscle function and health. In adults 40 plus, Timeline has been shown to increase muscle strength and endurance and no change in activity. So whether you've been active resistance training your whole life or you're just getting started, or you're not getting a lot of sleep and you've got a million requests, your muscles and your mitochondria need help. And they have just launched their low sugar, vegan, non-GMO, gluten-free gummies, which by the way, I am eating by the handfuls, which I shouldn't, but they taste delicious. Timeline is offering our community 20% off your first order. Go to timelinenutrition.com/Dr. Lyon and use the code Dr. Lyon to get 20% off. I recommend trying their starter pack with all 3 different formats and of course, their gummies, which are incredible. Can someone just lose body fat? Or do you think there must be some lean mass lost? Is there a way to do it?
Under some conditions, you can actually gain lean mass while you lose fat, but the condition has to be you're pretty new to training, or you're not new to training, but you're new to significant quantities of anabolic steroids. There are a few other conditions, but generally speaking, when already lean people lose weight, they lose some combination of fat and muscle. When people who aren't exercised, they haven't really trained and they haven't lifted weights much, and their diet is like just whatever they feel like. When they start getting a healthy diet, higher in protein, and they start lifting weights, which we covered on my last appearance here on the show, then they can actually gain muscle and lose fat at the same time for months and months and months and months and months, if not years. But for people that are already pretty lean, or people who already lift weights, there's going to be some combination of muscle and fat. Now,
how would you define pretty lean? So let's say someone was a overweight female who is now tracked her calories for 2 weeks. She has determined what her maintenance calorie is. Let's say it's 1,800, and she decides to decrease her calories by 350, 500. So she's eating, what is that? 1,300 calories. Okay. Do you account for activity, or that's the number?
The activity question is a little bit of a different question.
Okay. Well, then I shouldn't go there yet.
Sure. We can definitely handle it.
Okay.
Whenever you like. So how do we determine who's fat or not fat, who's lean? I'd say the easiest test in the real world is like someone's wearing clothes and you just come up to someone else. You're like, is she fat or not? It's really straightforward. If you at least look like an up and down shape, you're good. If there's stuff coming off the sides and the front and the back and the whole thing, you're fat. Now, it's ruthlessly unscientific and quite discourteous to say to someone, you would never tell someone something like that. But it's one of those things, you look at documentaries in the 1950s, how many people were fat?
None.
Yeah, but how do you know?
I mean,
they're
extreme.
Just in clothes, right?
That's it.
But
yeah,
that's what I mean by generally lean. Like no one would look at you and be like, that's definitely a fat person, right? So if we like take a little walk, no offense, Houston, Texas, the fatometer is going to be at the grocery store like fat. I mean, are you sure? You don't think that 600-pound lady's mostly lean body mass? Like, no, yes, I would not say that. So people who are of generally like close enough within 15 pounds of their insurance table adjusted body weight, you can consider them fairly lean, and without some rigorous weight training and very perfectionist diet, they're going to typically experience significant amount of muscle loss. People who are significantly more overfat may lose less muscle, but also a lot of that is because they start being more physically active as they lose the weight. So that's a big deal as well. If both groups of people start weight training when they start losing weight, then they just build muscle and lose fat at the same time. And that's a really, really big deal. As a matter of fact, on that note of weight loss, if you don't lift weights and you start losing weight, you do lose significant amounts of muscle. And
it doesn't actually matter where your protein is. We think, I mean, yes, protein has a protein sparing effect, but without activity, it's tough.
Without muscular specific training to get
Yes.
more jacked, it's actually protein doesn't have a terribly protein sparing effect.
That's right.
You can't like eat 300 grams of protein up to like getting jacked if you don't lift weights. It actually just gets burned and excreted and all that whole thing. So you're totally correct about that. So the lifting weights thing does matter, but a little while back, one of the new anorectic drugs, Ozempic, got in a little bit of hot water because people were like, oh, like it's causing people lots of muscle mass loss. It was true. But it was no more muscle mass loss than you would expect with people who lost like 50 fucking pounds in a year. It's just going to be a lot of muscle loss. It's not especially a thing that GLP-1s even do. And there's actually a new review that came out that was like, it's exactly what we would expect if you just lost a lot of weight. The thing is, those people never lost that much muscle because they never lost that much weight. And I've got all sorts of great things to say about the anorectic drugs whenever they do have a big role to play in all this.
So I want to finish covering the macronutrients,
Yes.
how you would dose dietary protein, how you would think about dosing carbohydrates, and then how you would dose fat. And if there is a particular distribution that you would use.
Sure.
I am coming to you, Dr. Mike, and I want to lose weight.
From where? In any case, let's pretend you're just enormous. Like, not just overweight, but like offensively enormous. Are you pretending? Right now?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was looking at Crystal.
Stop checking out my wife.
I mean,
It's rude.
she's the best. By the way, she is going to be another podcast guest here. Thank you, Andrew Coates. I now put 2 and 2 together.
My man. So there are 2 ways to go about it for macros. One way is to use the expanded fitness approach, which includes macros that are not ultra specific, because the people who are using this, they want a diet that they can easily do. It does not require a huge departure from normal eating habits. For those people, I would say take your body weight in pounds and multiply it by like 0.6, 60%. So if you weigh 200 pounds, anything close to or over 120 grams of protein per day is more than enough to provide a great amount of protein for almost every need that you have.
So wait, so say that again. So it's 60% of your body weight.
So instead of a gram per pound, it's
Okay.
0.6 grams per pound.
For someone who's wanting to lose weight.
Correct. And that is more than enough protein to meet all of your needs. If you begin to resistance train, it's more than enough protein for most people's goals. It'll largely prevent muscle mass loss and actually get some accretion going. So that's really good stuff.
And is that roughly 1.6 grams per kg? Is that how that?
Oh, fuck, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm
Got
in
it.
America, damn.
We are? Okay.
I thought
Well, we're in Texas, so I don't know. You never know.
that belongs to America. Don't mess with Texas, man. So,
0.6.
0.6.
60% of your body weight.
Yeah, in pounds, right? Which is not a lot. And so, but that is the scientifically honest answer to how much protein we probably really need with a capital N, especially people that aren't like trying to optimize hardcore.
That's an important point.
Yeah.
If you're not necessarily fully trying to optimize.
You just want to dip your toe in and get some great results. That's totally cool, because a lot of people get that gram per pound thing, which is what I use. It's the number I'm going to say next. That's the optimization number. So if you weigh 200 pounds, it's roughly 200 grams of protein a day.
But even if they're trying to lose weight from 200, you would still say meet the 200, or would you say meet their goal body weight?
There's a few ways to go about that. One is a protein has a decent anti-hunger effect.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you actually eat 200, even though you don't need it, it can be pretty decent. The goal body weight is totally fine. You can scale it to lean body mass, which
But no
also
one really
works
knows.
just fine.
No
Yeah, so
one knows
you'd
their
have to
body
get your
mass,
body
yeah.
fat measured. Who knows?
Yeah. So you're saying that there are multiple ways to do something right.
For sure. But any answer between taking your body weight and multiplying it by pretty close to half, 0.6, all the way up to a gram per pound per day is a lot of really good answers in there.
Yeah.
And it's nothing, is if someone was sitting next to me on the airplane, first of all, they would be highly inconvenienced because my arms
I
are
mean,
all the way
you
in.
just, I feel bad for that person. You're just kind of on their seat.
Yeah, you know, I try to
situation.
get the seatbelt going and I put my hands in it. I really try to stay out of people's ways. I did not pay for that side of the seat. But if they told me, listen, you know, like I weigh 200 pounds and I'm really trying to get fit. I have like 160 grams of protein a day. Is that like too little? Absolutely not. You're doing great. Now, if you want to step on stage, Mr. Olympia, You might have a different goal. If you're optimized, super physique, you're already lean and jacked, you might need more protein. If you're significantly older, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you might need more. But for most people, especially like our hypothetical female audience for this podcast, 0.6 all the way to a gram is totally fine. So that's for protein.
Do you care the kind of protein?
If you go to get your protein in a really wacky way, yes. If you eat mostly lean meats, animal products, and lean vegan products that are complete protein sources or complementary, no big deal. But if you're counting mostly protein from bread and just peas by themselves, you're going to run into some problems. Yeah. So protein quality is a thing. That's actually in a later part of the discussion of like where the food comes from.
Yes,
So macros first, then but that was a great question. For carbs and fats, there is a very distinct story for athletic performance and optimization of hypertrophy and all this stuff. And that story is kind of like meet your needs for fats, and then the rest should probably come more from carbohydrates than fat.
What is the need? What is the needs for fat?
So for males, probably and females as well, you just generally have two classes of need. One is the essential fatty acids, of which you need like a total of 2 grams per day. That's what you need to like stay alive and well. And then there is a need that comes from hormone optimization, testosterone, et cetera. And that number is significantly higher. That number is measured more in the 20 to 30 to 40% of your calories per day. Many people can do a broad range of that. Some people really prefer one or the other. Another consideration for how many fats you eat is, and this is kind of the main point of the carbs versus fats, is if you're just trying to lose some goddamn weight and get a little leaner and get a little healthier, maybe a lot leaner and healthier, how much carbohydrate versus fat you have, as long as you're meeting that, technically speaking, 2 grams of EPA and DHA fats per day, the rest is down to very, very nuanced specifics, and it just doesn't matter that much. So if someone says, I have 20 grams total of fat per day, but I do have an essential fat supplement, I feel great, best time of my life, all the veggies and rice I can eat, I love it, I'm losing weight, you won't hear me say a damn thing. But if someone says, look, I'm trying to low fat, high carb, Mr. Twinkie, that's what I call him. Mm-hmm. There's a reference to my genitals, by the way.
Oh, I had no idea.
He doesn't work anymore. I have like totally lost an interest to live. I'm depressed all the time. Like, okay, you're eating too few fats. Your testosterone's in the gutter. You need to eat more fats. But a big one is preference and what works in your daily diet. So if you're the kind of person that likes salmon and steak, whole eggs, which are great healthy foods, you should probably eat a little bit fewer carbohydrates and more fats. Same calories. Protein is already squared away, but more fats, fewer carbs. If you're the kind of person that is super cool with higher carb, you're not really into fats, nothing in your diet really, you don't crave fats, you can dunk the fats pretty low and keep that carbs much higher. But for carbs, the low end is considered something like, 10 to 30 grams of carbs per day, predominantly from green vegetables, because they have a lot of fiber and nutrients in them. Very low.
That's low.
I wouldn't recommend that as a first principles thing, but there are a lot of keto people and carnivore people eating that and a little less. And at least in the medium term, they get lean, they're very healthy, they love their lifestyle, and all is well. So there's a big, broad range of carbs and fats. As long as the calories are held constant, you got your protein squared away, plus or minus carbs and fats is mostly try it, see how you feel best. Some people, fats give them a lot of fullness through the day.
Are you a higher fat or higher carb person?
I haven't eaten to preference in a generation.
Interesting. What is your, just out of curiosity?
I'm currently on about 25 grams of fat per day.
Okay, so you're a lower fat person.
I mean, I'm not because I hate it, but I have to do it for bodybuilding. But I'm not the demographic for this talk. Holy shit.
But it's interesting. You're right. You might not be the demographic for this talk, but I'm telling you that I've been doing this for a long time, and the knowledge that your demographic has for body composition is second to none.
Yeah, no, like the bodybuilders kind of figured out how this all works.
Hydration isn't just about drinking Coke Zero or other sugar-free sweetened beverages like Red Bull. Now, I'm saying this for a friend. Or it's not even about drinking more water. It's about keeping the right balance of electrolytes and fluids. during life's most demanding season, like, I don't know, parenting, maybe pregnancy or postpartum, your body is going through massive changes. Blood volume increases, hormones shift, breastfeeding demands, you know, all those things. All of these life transitions, you probably need more and better hydration, and you need electrolytes like sodium, magnesium, and potassium. Element is formulated to replenish what you actually lose without sugar, fillers, and junk that you don't need. It's a clean, effective way to stay hydrated. And for men, again, it's not just about hydration. It's also about performance, recovery, mental clarity, and yes, even energy. Whether you're hitting the gym, chasing kids, or grinding through your workday, maybe even your teeth, dehydration can quietly sabotage your focus and endurance. Element helps you stay sharp, strong, and ready. We use Element because it works. Tastes amazing, and it's no nonsense, just science-backed hydration that actually makes a difference. And right now, Element is offering a free sample pack with any purchase. That's 8 flavors to try on the house. Go to drinklmnt.com/Dr. Lyon to claim yours. That's drinklmnt.com/Dr. Lyon. Stay hydrated, stay strong, and as Goggins would say, stay hard. In terms of weight loss, there are 2 things that are required for recomping body. And I'm not talking about additional anabolic agents, and I'm not talking about additional GLP-1 or GIP medications. It is resistance training, and this is the work that Don did, you know, some of the early studies, again, thinking ahead, resistance training and maintaining and or increasing dietary protein from the RDA of 0.8 grams per kg to 1.6 grams per kg, so doubling the RDA.
Yep.
That seems to be, within the literature, just the way to make it happen. If I were to ask you, how do you suggest someone think about structuring a diet who is a postmenopausal woman? She is, I don't know, 55, hitting the gym. You know, I want to make sure we talk about exercise. You know, what does her exercise plan look like? And how is she designing a diet? Again, I do think that you should talk about carbon because there is a way to make it extremely easy. So what are the macronutrients and how would you think about it? And then what are the practical things? Should they use an app? Should they use something like Lumen? Should they use, I just want to throw that in there. Should they use, I don't know, X, Y, and Z? How do you think about it?
So first off, there are many paths to Rome. There's obviously people who have, and I always tell people, if you need to debunk any of this stuff, you can just look around people's, like, for example, well, you can't lose weight if you're eating refined carbohydrates or a high carb diet. Okay, well, what about Professor Mark Haub, who lost 27 pounds doing a Twinkie diet? Like, he was eating 1,800 calories a day, but he mostly ate stuff from 7-Eleven and protein powder. Like, that's what he ate, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
So again, we just have so many examples of, and people, you know, on the plant-based side, you'll have people say, well, you know, if you're eating a lot of fat, it gets stored as fat. You can't lose fat on it. Well, how many examples of low carb diets do we have? Like, it works.
Or many passed around.
What works is finding something that you can adhere to. Now, when it comes to the actual nuts and bolts of structuring a diet, the number one most important thing is to get your energy intake correct. Meaning, if you want to lose fat, you have to consume less energy than you expend. Now, let me just do a couple of quick caveats on that, because I know there are people who say, well, I know I was in a calorie deficit and I didn't lose weight. No, if you ate so everything we eat is a carbon backbone structure, right? You ate those carbons, they have to go somewhere. Okay? And if you gained body fat, your body did not create carbons out of nowhere. They came from somewhere. Okay? So, and we're very well at accounting for those. So we have to get the energy intake right. Now, what is that? Now, there are variances and whatnot, but essentially, like, you're trying to find somebody's daily energy expenditure. You brought up carbon. This is kind of what the app does when it's originally like asking you questions and whatnot. And it's usually an equation out there to kind of determine your BMR. And then we're using a questionnaire to determine your physical activity. And then it's kind of taking a stab at it, you know? Now, you may get it wrong. It may be wrong, right? Like you might overestimate, underestimate. For, I would say, 60 to 70% of people, it's going to be pretty accurate. That's how, you know, bell curves work, right? But then you adjust based on how you respond. Okay. Let me back up.
Because we want nuts and bolts. I want to know how many grams, how are we doing?
Yeah.
Are we thinking about protein in a percentage?
And this is exactly how the app works on the back end and the algorithm.
And the reason I'm bringing up Carbon is, number one, I think it's amazing. And I may or may not have just recently accepted a position as director of women's health. Very excited about that. Shout out to Mike, who's in Hawaii right now. But also, how do we make things easy for people? And also, but before we talk about Carbon, I need you to tell me how many grams how are we thinking about protein as a percentage? Which, no, we are probably thinking about it in terms of grams. I know where you come from. I know the school of thought. Are we thinking about a baseline number? So if the current RDA is 130 grams of carbohydrates, does everybody get that off the bat? Or do they have to earn that increase in carb? I think about Shane, my husband, who's running Chicago Marathon.
Right.
If we have to account for that. And then the fat, how someone listening at home who doesn't have carbon yet, what are they going to do?
So again, depending on your goal, if your goal's fat loss.
Yeah, we'll just call it fat loss. Fat loss while
muscle
maintenance.
So you get your, let's just say you get your calories right. Okay. So you have to get the right amount of energy to lose fat, an energy deficit. The next step when I construct a diet, and this is how the app works as well on the back end, is okay, we have the amount of calories that we think is going to be reasonable for somebody to lose fat. Then we set protein.
What is the deficit, do you think? Is it a 10% deficit? How do you begin to think about it?
It just depends on, it just depends on how quickly somebody wants to try and lose weight or fat.
And this is somewhat of an experiment. It's interesting because you are an evidence-based scientist, and even in evidence-based practices, we still have to adjust and kind of go with, there is individuality no matter how you look at it. And the randomized control trials are, broadly speaking, hopefully through populations.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I think people, again, I think everybody should have to take a basic statistics course, because I think people have a hard time understanding like the concept of variance and whatnot. So if we have calories set, the next thing we're going to set is protein, because it's the most important macronutrient for the reasons we talked about: thermic effect to food, satiety, body composition. And so I set that as a gram per kilo or gram per pound of lean mass.
See, you and I are different here.
Yeah.
I don't know my lean mass.
Well, so again, this is...
Matt, producer, what's your lean mass? Why are you trying to get something out of your man bag?
So the reason I say lean mass is because if you have somebody who's very obese, it's really going to overestimate protein if you're giving it based on their actual body mass. But again, a lot of people don't know their lean mass, like you said, which is why in Carbon, when they're signing up, there's questions. If you don't have like an actual body fat measurement, then there's some questions about waist circumference and whatnot. We make an estimation of what your body fat is, and from your body fat and your total weight, we can determine your approximate lean mass. People get so hung up on this. It's not a big deal if we're slightly off, right? So we're setting
protein. Would they be like ideal body weight?
Ideal body weight, somebody could do as well. So we're looking at like around 2 grams per kilo of lean mass, up to 3 grams per kilo of lean mass is what the app will end up recommending. And that's typically what I recommend as well. Now, 3 grams per kilo lean mass might sound like a lot, but when you consider if you're not doing total body mass, it winds up around probably 2.2 to 2.4 grams per kilogram of total body mass for somebody with an average body fat, on average. So that's on the upper end. But again, I like protein. But again, in the app, you can adjust within a certain range if you want to. So once you've got calories set, once you've got protein set, again, I like around 2 grams per kilogram of lean mass.
Of lean mass, which is interesting. I'm trying to think about what that would be. So if someone was 52 kilograms, and that's their total body weight, you think...
Is this someone's named Gabrielle Lyon?
No, I'm smaller than that. Yeah, kind of. But I think I'm actually smaller than 52 kilograms. How much if I'm 100 and, I don't know, maybe $110 if I'm lucky. How many grams of protein would that be?
Right around 100 to 110.
Okay. So I'd probably eat that.
If you're 110 And you're pretty darn lean. My guess is your body fat is somewhere around 12, 13% body fat.
Probably not that high, but should
Okay,
be.
10%.
Just kidding.
You know, you're looking at about 100 pounds of lean mass.
Yeah.
That's about 45 kilos. You double that, 99,
Okay.
about 100 grams of protein, right?
Yep.
So our app would put you anywhere from like 100 to 150 grams of protein, depending on your personal preference, right? And so once you've got the protein number set, we have to deduct those calories out of your total calorie goal, and then you have carbs and fat left. And so what I did as a coach and what the app does is kind of say, what kind of dietary preference do you have? Do you prefer a little more fat? Do you prefer a little more carb? Do you like a balanced diet? Are you plant-based? Are you ketogenic? And you can pick, you know, any of those things, and it will put you, and will, you know, distribute the carbohydrates and fats appropriately.
Is there a minimum amount of carbohydrates that you seem to like for an athletic person?
I mean, it depends on the athletic event. If we're talking about somebody doing like actual anaerobic stuff.
For a lifter, let's say for someone who is lifting, doing resistance training for hypertrophy 3 days a week, but they're just doing it to maintain skeletal muscle mass. What are you thinking? Do you care?
I'll give you the straight down the line scientific answer, and then I'll give you the
I'm trying to pin him here, guys.
With true serum answer.
I guess, yes.
So the straight down the line scientific answer is it doesn't seem to matter that much.
It doesn't.
Carbohydrate to fat. There are some individual studies that showed less lean mass accrual on a ketogenic diet versus a non-ketogenic diet equated in protein. But there was also a recent meta-analysis showing that there really wasn't a difference between high carb, low carb with protein equated. I think if you inject me with true serum, I think a little bit of carbohydrate is probably better, just because even though carbohydrate and insulin is not anabolic in the physiological range, it is anti-catabolic. It does inhibit protein degradation. And there was actually a study from Tipton showing that post-exercise, when they gave carbohydrate with protein, or it might have been with amino acids, that the net protein balance was more positive when they gave it with carbohydrate.
You can still make body composition improvements by just being consistent. And again, you can change it for if someone is moderately trained or more advanced, you would increase the either volume or intensity. Which would you think is more important for body composition changes, specifically fat loss?
Yeah, you know what? I would have to look at training age first. So if someone is new to training, if I'm coming in with an intensity approach, in my opinion, most people are not going to be able to stabilize and maintain. I mean, if I had my wish out of it, I mean, I would balance out between some volume work and dropping down volume and raising intensity. I think it's been my approach my entire career. I will set my training up into different blocks of like 2 months. Right, and
is that how everyone should do it?
No,
whether
no.
They're
This
new?
is just how I do it. So I'll set up like January and February will be the same program, but I'll have progressions every 2 weeks, and the exercises will change in February, and then March will come.
When you have hockey?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I got to pay attention. Like during, I'm a hack hockey player. By the way, let me be clear. But if you're playing 3-4 days a week, you want to be careful about how you load the spine. You want to be careful about specific movements that you're doing. Like your body could potentially, it could take a toll on your body. So I think exercise selection is important, and I think intensity is important when you're playing that much. And then when you scale off, I think it's a time to put your foot on the gas in certain areas and maybe start focusing on a little more strength and power, and you can get a little bit more aggressive with certain things. But all throughout the year, for me, it's like those workouts start with that practice portion, and that's what allows me to feel very
Lost.
I like that term. I don't
Yeah.
like it's a fun term to use, and it's not a scientific term. Let's be very clear here. But it just feel more flossed and feel more loose and feel more recovered.
The pull for the beginner, what are the best pull movements that, again, you and I talk, we're really training for longevity. And everybody should, whether they're a military operator or an actor, it's your body's your tool.
Resiliency, yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
What are some of the key pulling exercises that you like?
Yeah, I'll break it down from like a vertical pull or a horizontal pull. So it's no different than the pressing, right? Vertical pull can be your pull up, chin up, neutral grip pull up, lat pull down, right? Like that's your vertical pulling, right? You're pulling high down. And then your horizontal pull could be like your one arm dumbbell row, your chest supported row, your face pull, right? Some with equipment, some with dumbbells, some with machines. It's if you have access to that equipment, I'm all for you. Have fun with your training also. Like if you're getting in and you're training at home all the time and you're bored and you're just like, oh, Don and Gabrielle wrote this dumbbell program and I'm just getting bored of it. Like go to a gym, get some variability, like have fun with your training, like go in there and, don't make it miserable. Like I want you to enjoy it.
I have a question that I don't know the answer to, and you might not know the answer to this.
Probably not.
But this is so fun having you on the podcast.
Thank you.
Where did these exercises come from? I mean, think about it. We create these programs and then we continue them. A squat makes sense because that's something that my kid could do. Right. But where did one determine that a pull is important? I mean, a pull-up would make sense, but some of these exercises, have you ever thought about who developed them or why?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a few names for a few of the movements out there, right? But I mean, people are inventing crap today. They're just like throwing a name on it. And you say to yourself, well, obviously through social media and through the reach that we have, I think these things are so much more visible and fitness now is so much more accepted than it was, even back in the 60s and 70s. Like that was fit people who were fit. Jack LaLanne, I'll never forget it. Like I trained with him once.
You did? Amazing.
Yeah. So he came into Gold's Gym. I want to say it was either his 90th birthday or Gold's Gym's like 100th or 90th anniversary. And they had Jack LaLanne kind of walking into the gym and he looked at me. I was in a sleeveless shirt and he's like, let's get me on camera with that kid. So I ended up working out with him and, he was 90 years old. He was incline pressing 55-pound dumbbells. And I got to sit with him and hear his story a bit. And when he passed, I was invited by his wife, Layne. Her name was Layne Norton, right? And we went down to the Tribeca, one of the Tribeca theaters, and I sat through this documentary. And I got to be honest, I was teary-eyed most of the time because this guy, he was like, back in the day, he's like, I'm mixing all these fruits and vegetables in this blender and blending them together. People are like, this guy's crazy. And he's, pulling a barge. He's swimming and he's pulling this humongous barge and he's doing all these feats. And he is really one of the people that kind of set the standard. And I think in a way normalized like what it is we all go do now, moving weights and moving. And I think it's such a beautiful thing. But when you turn around and you look at these exercises, some of these exercises have been around for centuries. I mean, thousands of years. Like there have been people doing some of these movements. And once in a while you'll be able to find a picture of a physique from 100 years ago, and you're like, oh my God, like he's obviously natty, like he looks amazing, like. But it's cool to see that. It's cool for me to see it. But nowadays, like you look at the RDL, like it's a hinge. Like people have been hinging forever, and suddenly someone's like, oh, we're gonna call this the Romanian deadlift, or it's like
and there are movements that again have been around for a really long time.
Yeah. The pull up, like, oh wow, that's a real scientific name. Like someone's hanging from the bar, like pull yourself up. Like we're calling that the pull up. Like it's probably how it literally happened. And then we just hung with these things. And then now you see all these sports scientists now researching and trying to find out other ways to do things more efficiently. But what's interesting about a lot of this research is we've all seen research that have been published and you've seen it then contradicted, decades later. And yes, there's certain research papers that you even explain.
Hallmark
that you'll look at and you're like, oh, this is solid. But, I also look at specific experts in our field that have been doing this stuff for 20, 25, 30, 35 years. And they're some of the best research experts without having things published,
amazing?
Right?
I know exactly who you're referencing.
Yeah, so
amazing.
For me, that's impressive. Like just because a paper might come out and it might say, well, there's no evidence that mobility is helpful. Well, this guy's been doing it for 30 years, and this guy now is 70 years old, and he moves beautifully. My evidence is going to push myself in that direction. Or
sometimes it takes time for evidence to catch up with what we know or hypothesis. Mm-hmm. We talked about squat, push, pull, core exercises.
Yes.
Tell me how important those are for a beginner and what we should be doing. Because I remember I went on a Good Morning America and I called you. I'm like, Don, they want me to do exercise. I'm like, do you remember this?
Yes.
And I was like, here's what I'm thinking for the core exercises. I went, blah, 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 sit up. And you're like, no.
Yep.
we're not doing sit-up.
Yeah.
So explain to us good core exercises and why.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be clear. The sit-up's been around for a long time, and there are plenty of people that can do sit-ups and never have back issues. I'm just
but maybe it's not the best. I mean, maybe
yeah.
it's not
So the
best
reason
exercise.
why I don't program it is because statistically, a lot of people have sore backs, and a lot of people are sitting in this position. They're in this kyphotic position all day, and just adding, I think that flexion, under strain can be detrimental, right? So I'm a huge fan of one arm carries or some type of
as a core exercise.
Yeah,
because always core exercises, we think that we're going to be laying on our back
Right.
doing sit-ups or Matt over there doing flutter kicks, but no.
Some of the strongest people I've worked with, they have, we have assigned, carry variations into their training diet, and they've had an incredible level of success with it. I mean, there's so much benefit. There's so much bang for their buck out of that movement. And you know what? Like, I've seen it as a rehab tool. I've seen Dr. Charlie Weingroff, post-surgery bring someone in, and it's whether it's shoulder surgery or whatever it might be, starting them with a weight down low is going to be a lot safer than getting them up in this position here. So, I have seen this used as a rehab tool from medical professionals, very successful. I've seen it used.
And a core stability, your number one exercise would it be called an offset carry? It's just a one arm.
Yeah,
carry?
I mean, some form of a carry, depending on what they're capable of doing. But I love one arm carries. Planks are, I think, a great introductory movement. I think teaching someone to get into a plank position and create tension, these tension techniques, getting into position and say, listen, we're not going to hang out in this extended position. Squeeze your glutes, squeeze your legs, squeeze your lats.
You
teaching
taught me
them
something
Yep.
yesterday about a plank. It's not about the length of time that you can hold a plank, because an individual could likely.
How much tension? Yeah.
But you said that it was about creating tension and
Yep.
being able to hold the quality of the plank under tension.
Right.
And that I thought was a really good learning tip.
I think it's a great way to kind of supercharge your plank a bit, right? Where most people, I can hold a plank for 8 minutes. Like, great. Like, trust me, there's plenty of strength carryover from that. But when I see most people holding in those positions, they're in a bad position. And they might be loading themselves in a way that I believe, in my opinion, isn't the safest thing for them. So I think teaching them how to do a hard style tension technique plank for 10 to 20 seconds, where I'm literally like telling them, envision a tornado is blowing over you right now as you're in this plank position. What are you going to do? How are you going to stabilize? They're like, well, I'm going to try and rip the floor apart to stabilize. I'm like, exactly. Are your glutes going to be tight? They're like, yeah. Is your chin position going to be packed? Yeah. It's like I'm moving around them, trying to like palpate their body, trying to move them a little bit. And they're just literally shaking within 10 to 20 seconds.
That would be an isometric hold.
Exactly.
And how many reps would would it be considered a rep? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would put them maybe under time. Like, so I would start someone off with like, hey, listen, let's see if you can hold that position. Cause I put people in the positions and they're like, I can't hold a plank. And I'm like, okay, we're going to work up to that. And then there's other things like if they can't hold a plank, which I've seen, we can hold a light dumbbell with two hands.
How light are we talking?
As light as we have to go to where we're adding external resistance to the equation.
But we want people to.
We want them to get under load. Yes.
We want them to get under load. And I think that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions for people is they'll say, well, I can't lift that. That's too heavy. And it might be a 10 or 15 pound weight, but
that's a problem in my opinion.
But I think it's just a thought process,
right?
Because you could go lift your child or a suitcase and it's going to be
bag
much
of groceries.
Heavier. That's right. It's going to be much heavier than
bag
that.
of groceries. How about this? I'm traveling this afternoon. We got a suitcase that we're carrying. That suitcase is going to weigh a lot more than 2 pounds. Like, you better make sure you're able to carry this stuff. I'll quote recently, I was listening to a physical therapist talk about the one arm carry and how he likes loading it so heavy that he's like, if you can do a shrug with it, like it's too light type of thing. Right. So I thought that was a really good indicator, but I also understand I am not taking a newbie into the gym on day one when they're feeling vulnerable or they don't have that foundation. And I'm turning like, hey, Mrs. Smith, like, you haven't trained in 40 years or ever. Like, let's go over and grab that 24 kilogram kettlebell and go for a walk. Don't worry if it's heavy. Like, God forbid something happens. Right. Like, we have to develop that confidence. Whether she can do it or not, we have to develop that confidence. I want them to turn to me, and I want people to feel empowered when they come in to exercise. And when they go and they play with their kids, I want them to feel empowered. We saw a woman that the other day in her 60s. She was killing it in the gym.
Killing it.
Killing it. And you know what? Most 20, 25-year-old
I mean,
guys.
She's stronger than me. She's my size. She's stronger than me.
Sled pulling, sled pushing, sweating, out of breath. Walks by me, gives me like a fist. I'm like, oh my God, who is this? Like superwoman over here.
She runs ultras.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Ultras, and now we've just...
And she moves well. There's not too many people who run ultras where I'm like, wow, they move really well.
Oh,
yeah,
it's
she moves really well. Yeah.
It's interesting. I was on a podcast and they said, okay, well, how long does it take to see these results? Could it be 24 weeks? And yeah, it could be. It all depends.
It's a funny question.
It is, yes.
It's like saying, you know, how long is it going to take me to get to Cleveland, Ohio if I drive from Detroit? We can answer that. But the question of how long am I going to really, like, is my car really going to be going pretty fast? Like, ooh, I don't know, like within 30 seconds if you're getting out of your driveway?
Bathroom stops.
Right, yeah. 100%. And so when people say, like, how long until I see these results? It's like, well, like every week you're going to be losing 1.5 pounds for as many weeks as you keep cranking until you need a psychological break. That could be 12 weeks, easy. It's like, just keep doing it. And what I would say psychologically, really good advice, I think, is don't worry about that end goal too much. The process. Eat your healthy foods, get your 10,000 steps, take your Zepbound, just let it cook. It'll do its thing, don't you worry. And if it's not, you adjust your food, you go to the doctor, they adjust your medication dosage, and the cycle repeats itself. It's another quick public service announcement, because it doesn't get said enough, I don't think. A lot of people have all sorts of interesting ideas and opinions about Ozempic and all that whole craze, and many people come from some place of either kind of a reflexive anti-drug ideology, which is nonsense to begin with. You can steel man it, but it's really tough. And other people come from kind of an iconoclasm, like, well, I'm not into these. These drugs there's a problem. And it's mostly just people's feelings. It's not really based in ideas. But it's true that some of these drugs can be improved upon. But it's not a hypothetical, because I can tell you 2 true things. One is there are already drugs in late-stage clinical trials that blow Ozempic out of the fucking water. If you're at home, Google retatrutide, all one word. Triple agonist hits the GLP pathway, GIP, and glucagon. And I don't know how the fuck they did it, but the glucagon pathway, non-stimulant, increases your resting metabolic rate. You just burn more calories. It doesn't wig you out, no psychotropic effects. You just burn more calories and you're less hungry. And whatever the fuck GIP does, I don't even know. Triple agonist. Retatrutide is going to be on the market probably in a year. And Ozempic is going to be like super discount cheap drug because this ain't shit. If you look at the studies of how much weight people are losing, it was like Ozempic was a big deal. Tirzepatide was a bigger deal. Retatrutide is that same step. And major pharmaceutical companies around the world, so retatrutide will be generation 5 in this drug scale. They're working on 6 is in early testing, 7 is in development.
I have to ask you a question. I don't want to go down a conspiracy rabbit hole, but
I love those.
Okay. Now we have a highly palatable processed food, massive food industry.
Mm-hmm. I love that industry, by the way.
Yes.
I will sit here and defend it.
Okay. Now we have a drug that is severely limiting people's challenges with obesity. I mean, people are losing weight. Mm-hmm. Food addiction from some of these highly palatable foods are going away. Mm-hmm. Do you think that some of the influx of anti-obesity narrative drugs, do you think that potentially that is influenced at all by the food industry? Or where do you think the division is going to be, if at all?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. So you have the situation where the food industry is just trying to get you to spend as much money as possible. They're not such big fans of you dying because then you don't spend money anymore. They're also not big fans of you getting out of shape because then you don't like your life and you blame them, and that sucks. There's not like a Hershey's CEO that when they see morbidly obese people barely getting out of a car, they're like, perfect. They don't like that at all. They would ideally like to see people eat Hershey's candy bars in a state of caloric balance and enjoying their lives. That's how they were meant to be eaten. That's how they were eaten in the 50s and 60s, et cetera, et cetera. So the vast majority of the food industry wants you to have the tasty food you want and have a great time and not die. The problem is they had no idea how to do those last 2 things because most people were like, buttered popcorn, I'll take 50. They blow up. The food industry is like, sure, we could help these people, but we don't even know how the fuck. A food executive has no idea how to lose weight and fat. It's not his job. His job is just get people to buy tasty food. And it's not a job he chose to be like, this is what we're going to make Americans do. There is no conspiracy. The reason the food industry exists and is massive and makes all these foods that kill you is because you want it, motherfucker. Not you, but the royal you. You get me to stop people from pulling up to Taco Bell every fucking hour of the day, I'll start to believe there's a food conspiracy if they're still pulling up. Talk to those people. Be like, where did you see this? Where's the advertising? They're like, I just fucking like Taco Bell. Get out of my face. Wait, don't get out. Hold on, watch this. Cordita Crunch. Now go. People want the stuff. So that's the food industry. Then you have the anorectic drug industry, very nascent, very just getting born, that's going to combat a part of that, the excess part. There are two ways for the food industry to respond to this primarily. One is to change their advertising and go, hey, you're on these drugs, amazing, you do you, but you can still have a Snickers bar every now and again, and they're completely correct. Healthy balance. I love it. Dope. Because, like, I don't know about you, but I'm not interested in living in a society where the government's like, no more Babe Ruth bars or whatever. No more fucking Kit Kats. They're illegal because people are too fat. What the fuck? I moved from the Soviet Union to get the fuck away from that kind of stuff. So that would be great. Another other idea they could have, there will be a combination of these ideas employed over the next several years, is they're going to try to outrun the drugs. It's competition. They're going to try to make their food even tastier so that it used to be something you could resist on some amount of semaglutide, and you need retatrutide to resist that now. And that competition is going to heat up very likely over the course of the late 2020s and 2030s. I think it's entirely reasonable to expect this will either age very well or very poorly, that in the mid-2030s at some point, most of us, maybe all, will have at-home universal robots cooking all of our meals for us. And they'll be able to source recipes from all over the internet and make you the tastiest shit you've ever seen in your life. So if you want to get fat, the 2030s will be dope time to get fat. But the degree of drug advancement at that point will also be really gnarly. So what we're leading to is a world, and this has been increasingly true for the world, the developed world, for as long as we can measure. You can get more of anything you want. In the United States, which is one of the freest countries in the world, one of the most developed capitalist countries, people observe time and time again, if you want to get fat and lazy, best place in the world to do it. You want to get lean and fit and shredded, best place in the world to do it. It's options. You can take the anorectic drugs, and here's a really cool idea to try. This is crazy, I know. When you go to the grocery store, don't fucking buy the junk food. The food corporation isn't lying to you. It's not like broccoli's really chocolate on the inside and they fucked with you. It's really broccoli. And,
I can attest to that.
And you just listen to me. The food industry does not care what they sell you fundamentally as long as you buy it. So if a lot of people are like, dude, I want healthy shit. Oh my God, they healthy shit right away. McDonald's had a thing where they tried like some salads and shit for a while, a couple of different sandwiches. They were healthier, and it turns out there just wasn't enough market demand, so they pulled them off. That's not a McDonald's problem. That's an us problem. And so there's going to be tastier and tastier junk foods. Guaranteed. You don't even need an anorectics battle for that. People just want tastier junk food. And there's going to be an anorectic situation. In the end, the anorectics will win because at some point, if you just successfully show up to the doctor's office once a month and he gives you whatever 2032, 8th gen drug, you will not look at food and be able to put it in your mouth past a certain point.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating where we're going.
And if anyone wants to understand how that feels on an intuitive level, they've never taken the drugs. Take all of the malaise away. It's a little tough from a foodborne illness. Stomach flu, and just remember how hungry you weren't. Like you sit with someone who has stomach flu and they're like, oh, you're like, hey, juicy cheeseburger. But I can't even think about it. You can get that not hungry on 2.5 mgs of Ozempic for 6 weeks straight. Someone talks about food, you're like, don't, I'm going to throw up. There's so much upside on that. And the drugs are slowly reducing side effects, increasing primary effects. They're going to win against the food industry. But those people who don't take the drugs, and just, well, say it exactly as I mean it, randomly buy food at the grocery store, they're going to get real fat because the food's just fucking delicious and getting cheaper all the time. It's getting great. At some point, an individual has to say, I want something out of my body to go a certain way. If you just show up to the store and eat fuck all, but many of those people aren't even compliant with medications. You're a practicing doctor. You know how it is. You're like, take a shot every week, and they show up and they're like,
though.
You got great patience.
Yeah, I do.
You know that's atypical. Yeah, most of the folks that are severely obese, they're not your most compliant patients. They forget to take all kinds of drugs. Because they fundamentally just like maybe give a little bit less of a shit than most other people, which first of all is kind of dope because you're like, fuck it, YOLO, Taco Bell, it's great. I watch fat people eat food and I'm like, dude, they're really getting out of that. Something I don't. That's just amazing. But on the other hand, it's going to lead to some side effects you're going to have to deal with sooner or later. So the whole conspiracy thing, there is no conspiracy. We can try to find one to be a great New York Times piece.
I really like this answer. And
yeah,
also...
but it's more of like, I think the world's a little bit more libertarian than people like to think, which is great because we have so much freedom. But it's also kind of meh because like, yeah, freedom means you can make terrible fucking choices. And there's no one conspiring to make you do it. You're the one that pulled up to Taco Bell at 2:30 in the morning.
So what you're saying is you can tank your health or you can actually be in incredible health is truly a choice. And we have education and resources like your RP Strength and your the app, which you should probably sign me up for free because I'd like to try it.
Oh, free, huh? Well,
I mean,
how dare you?
Yep.
I didn't become a trillionaire by giving away things for free. I know,
but what you're saying is powerful. Is that actually there are choices, and we here have the opportunity to leverage those, whatever those choices are, in an extreme way.
100%.
What? Oh, you have more. Tell me.
I do.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure we hit up the muscle factor.
That's what my next question was, because I still cannot get over the fact that you are dieting and talking to me.
So we took care of most of the theory behind how people can lose weight. But there's a missing piece. Weight loss is cool. It's really healthy in almost all cases. But we can do better. We can do fat loss. Weight loss with conservation of muscle or an increase in muscle at the same time is a big deal. Because not only do you get even healthier, but you take on a shape that, I'll just say it, there's so much beating around the bush on this shit, but it's not 2019 anymore. It just makes you look hotter to most people. That shape. You're like, I want to look like J-Lo. And then you show them someone dying of anorexia. And they're like, that's not what I had in mind. Like, shit, J-Lo's got curves. What you think curves made of? Either fat or muscle. And if you get lean enough and have enough muscle, everyone's got awesome looking curves. Mm-hmm. Now, you may not be into muscular people. I find them grotesque, to be completely honest. Just kidding. But
I was like, is that a joke?
Is that a can't tell? Never can tell.
I can't tell.
That's my whole shtick.
Yeah.
I can't even tell if it's a joke coming out. I have to hear it again and be like, I guess I was joking. And then I don't remember. So basically, gaining muscle or keeping your muscle while you lose fat has a completely transformative effect on your health in the best possible way. Like if you just lose 50 pounds and the doctor gets the blood work done, they're going to be like, a lot of stuff is going good. We're a little bit worried about your muscle mass level, a little bit of sarcopenia here and blah, 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 your bone mass. But if you do the kind of thing we're talking about where you spare muscle, your doctor's going to be like, I don't know what the fuck you're doing, but I want some of it. Do you have like a website? Or who's your coach? So it's all great stuff. And it makes you physically stronger. So when you lose weight, a lot of times when people are pretty overweight, I'm currently technically on paper quite overweight, it's just a lot of body to carry around. It's annoying. It's just, it just sits there and you gotta get up to go to the fridge, you lean on stuff. If you just lose weight, you feel better and healthier and cleaner. You don't feel that, you can still kind of feel a little bit frail. If you lose weight while keeping your muscle or increasing it, you just get more or less superpowers. People talk about how they felt when they were in their 20s. Generally, I have almost no idea what they're talking about because I crush my 20-year-old self, like with one hand, like Matrix style, Keanu Reeves.
What do you mean you crushed yourself?
I can crush my 20-year-old self because he's a fucking little bitch compared to what I am now, mostly because my skeletal muscle mass is much higher. But if it was comparable and my fat was lower, then you see like that fucking like shining golden 55-year-old man at the gym who still has hair somehow, and you're like, motherfucker, how? And he's got that like Florida, Texas sort of tan that's just gorgeous, and he still has like a trim waistline, and he's like pretty lean. You could talk to him, you're like, hey, like 55, huh? You must be feeling it. He's like, I feel this. I'm in the time of my life. My dad is just a person that's genetically pretty good shape, and he's very physically active and eats really healthy. He's like damn near 70 years old. He's like, things are great. That's how you're going to feel if you lose weight without losing muscle and gaining it. You're just going to be like, oh, this fucking shit, I can do things. If you lose a lot of weight and you lose a lot of muscle, You might be feeling a little bit frail, a little bit tired. Walking up the stairs is tough. Picking up groceries is tough. How do we lose fat without losing muscle? One of the things is protein intake, but 0.6 to a gram per pound makes very little difference for most people in that. The biggest thing is resistance training. And if you want to know about that, tune into our last episode.
Yeah.
But resistance training, training with weights, 2 to 4 times a week is enough for most people. Whole body, etc. We cover that in the other podcast. It is a huge stimulus to your body that when you have a caloric deficit, your body points metaphorically at various things. It goes organs, brain, and we still need you. Don't siphon off any of your resources. Body fat, what are you up to? But if it's I'm busy, I've got meetings. Fuck you. Start losing yourself. Oh, crap. Throws parts of itself off, right? When it goes muscle, what are you up to? And if you're not training, muscle's like, oh, meetings all day. Like, shut up. Give up some of your muscle. Start losing it because we need you. But if you're resistance training, that still happens. But then the muscle, when you're in your off hours, recovering from training, goes, hey, I'm going to take some of this amino acids and carbs and fats from the blood, and I'm going to put them back in me and grow. And guess where all those nutrients don't go? Your fat. So your fat's doubly starving. Not only is it starving from the deficit, but the fat's like, finally food comes into the blood. And the fat's like, oh, come to me. And it's like, no, muscle takes it. And then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And so that effect of resistance training is massive and is transformative because a great example of that effect recently was Dana White, UFC president. Yeah. I made a video about, I'm not a big fan of the gentleman he worked with. I said all sorts of mean things about that in that video, but huge fan of Dana White, huge fan of what he's doing, and a big fan of what he did, which is he lost something like, I think 35 pounds-ish of weight, but he must have gained 10 or 15 pounds of muscle at the same time. So the metabolic effect is something you would see in someone who's lost maybe 60 pounds of fat, but the muscle came up. He looks amazing. His blood work is amazing. That's the ticket. And he trained with weights multiple times a week with Mila Sarchev, who's one of the best to ever do it. I mean, we can't all be trillionaires like Dana and get the best guy ever to do it to be our personal trainer, but everyone can go to the gym, more or less. Well, almost everyone. Planet Fitness is like $10 a month, which is, if you can't afford that, I don't believe you. I'll say that. Right. Everyone has access to it, and the resistance training is that big of a deal. But one thing that really starts to be important with resistance training, it is important in its own right, is, let's say, like the periodization of it. Because people say, okay, I've got all the tools to do fat loss. The big thing is dieting is tough. A condition in which your body is not getting sufficient calories to maintain its weight almost always accrues some fatigue. And we call that diet fatigue in the industry. Diet fatigue expresses itself in a couple of different ways. One is your energy levels decline. Your sleep quality declines. Your brain power doesn't do anything good. And you're like,
sounds like being a parent.
Don't get me started. I'm like what did my wife did most of the dog raising at our house. So at one point she was talking to a friend on the phone. She's like, yeah, I'm a single dog mom. I'm like, bitch, I'm right here. But she's like, you don't do anything. I'm like, okay, what? You were correct. So the dog's hard enough. Kids are a totally different level.
Yes, and you have met mine. So
yes, they're adorable, by the way. Yeah, they could just be terrible monsters, and you're like, why did I have them? So you're not in that boat.
And they're so cute.
See, I can even tell it's a real emotion you're sharing. Mm-hmm. They're wonderful. There was
they're complicated.
Yeah. I forgot Wanda Sykes. Do you know who that is? She's a comedian. Mm. She wrote for like all the big guys like Chris Rock and stuff. She had a stand-up once where she was like, yeah, people with kids, man, anytime you're like, yeah, like, do you like your kids? Was it worth it? And they're like, yeah, it's worth it. Like, do you mean that? So in any case, diet fatigue, the biggest problem you run into with it, outside of all the other problems I already listed, which are kind of gnarly, is increased food focus. Now, food focus has hunger within it, but it has all kinds of other stuff. Like that story I told earlier where you're watching your favorite show and you're just looking at the dinner rolls and the glass of milk. Why isn't anyone are those just props? Are those cold? Was this shot number 5?
Hungry. That's
really
being really hungry.
And there's a thing where you've just eaten, you're no longer hungry, but you're still food focused. If you do the diet too long,
yes,
and your diet fatigue gets too crazy. So at RP, we've probably diet coached several 100,000 real humans at this point. tens of thousands of them with an intimate personal coaching relationship, because we have a team of psychotic PhD coaches that are like, they look like we made up their certifications, but they're real. I'm not good enough to work on that team, so I don't bother. And we have app suite that helps templates and apps, tons of people. And what we found is somewhere between 8 weeks of consistent caloric deficit, fat loss dieting, and 12 weeks is where most people shine. 8 weeks is like enough to really make a visual difference. So if you do a diet for 4 weeks, the scale's down maybe 5 pounds, but you order Chinese and then it's up a pound because of the salt, and you don't even know what's going on. You can't really tell. The one lady from your work said you look better, but she always says nice things to her, and she just assumes she's a liar. And so it's not, you're not going to get motivated by the process, and you might quit and be like, I don't know, what is it? There's an amazing, one of my friends his mom had a sticker on the fridge, a fridge magnet, and it's this like 1950s woman, and she's doing this, and it said, I dieted for 1 month and lost 30 days. So like, that's how it can feel if you don't go long enough, you don't have anything to show for it. But after about 8 weeks, most people with a good deficit, they're going to feel different. They're going to look different. People are going to say stuff. Their clothes are going to fit different. They go, okay, this is great. But their diet fatigue isn't crazy yet in most cases. After about 12 weeks, not all, but many people, they're getting amazing results. But this shit is starting to wear on them. It wears on them in a bunch of different ways. There's entire books written about this. But one of them is your type of social interaction that you can have is limited. It has to be limited. Someone, maybe you and your husband go to the movies. Maybe it's a thing you've been doing for a long time. It's just a tradition. You're on a diet for 9 weeks. You go to the movies still. You smell that goddamn popcorn everywhere. And your husband's like, those zombies were scary. You're like, what? What? Can I get some fucking popcorn? Yeah. It's off. And so if you're hard as nails, you can just eat that shit. Like, not literally. Just can it. Whatever. Just, no worries. You just get it done. But it strains you, and it strains you, and it strains you. And here's a really cool revelation. If you go back up to roughly your maintenance calories, you still exercise, you still train with weights, you still eat mostly healthy, but a bit of junk. You can lose a bunch of weight, go to maintenance, chill for, we would recommend roughly at least 2/3 of the time you're dieting. So if you've been dieting.
Did that come from any kind of literature or just experience?
Plenty of literature, but lots of experience.
Got it.
And what you end up having is, if you diet for 12 weeks, it's probably good for at least 8 weeks for you to be at least at maintenance. Maybe even a little tiny surplus if you want to get a little more jacked, but at least maintenance. That brings you back to normal. It gives you breathing room. And then you can hit it again if you want to lose more weight. One of the biggest problems in weight loss is people, whatever number they are, let's say you weigh 231 pounds, and you're like, I want to weigh 170. And you're like, okay, great. You get your Zepbound, you get your diet, and you just go. It doesn't work like that, because you're going to accumulate so much diet fatigue that by the time you get below 190, you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to eat my own eyeballs today. Fuck it. And if you have to take enough anorectic drug for that to go away, they don't take away all the food focus. You still look at cheeseburgers on TV and you're like, and this is like you're missing something. And you are missing something, because you go to the family reunion, everyone's eating amazing hot dogs. You're not eating them. You got your own little bullshit. That's not a way to live life. That's a way to accomplish a task. It's not a way to live. So understanding that's a multi-phase process that has times of destitution, times of deficit, and then times of getting back to normal, that is a big deal. And that 8 to 12 week period, coupled with another 8 to 12 weeks of chilling, you get your little ratchet step-like effect, that works wonders. And empowered by anorectics and really good diet advice, people can get a couple ratchets down that thing nowadays, completely transform their bodies. It's going to take a couple of years. But again, to paraphrase one of my friends, Broderick Chavez, it's baffling that people think that something that took them years to do, like gain 80 pounds, they're just going to get off in weeks. But yeah, it should be like 5 weeks, I should be good. Like, no, it's going to take years. Luckily, not 15 years, but it might take 2 or 3, and you got to hang in there, and you got to give yourself breaks. So you talk to successful people. You're writing all your notes, you're scribbling. Let's say you just happen to, like, the CEO of Apple just happened to fly next to you on a plane. He's like, yeah, my private plane broke down, so could you scoot over? You're like, okay. And he's like, just sharing ideas about how to be successful. At some point, you're like, okay, so work straight up 12 hours a day, no breaks, right? No vacations, no weekends. He'd be like, no, you need a lot of that, because you need the creative process that doesn't happen unless you do the shit. Just the same thing is true with dieting. You got to go hard for a little while until your diet fatigue is like, bro, this is tough. You go to maintenance, and then you repeat that process.